Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel for another long overdue video, I've got to say. But we are back here today on F122 for the PSGL E-Series, the first round here at Imola. And yeah, we've got a very exciting series coming to the channel now before F123 releases. So we're going to have plenty of content in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, as you can see on the screen, we have an exciting prospect ahead of us as Williams Esports competing here. We've got 10 race season every Friday with the full quali format as you would see in usual league racing, and something different, points for every position. So a slightly different format to try and keep people racing, keep them interested in completing the race, and every position matters, all the way down to 20th. And a little bonus on top, you get a little prize pool at the end. So good on the guys at PSGL for putting that on. But here is the calendar ahead of the season. As I said, we've got Imola up first, 10th of February. So this is about 2 months after the end of F1 Esports. And to be honest, I haven't touched the game between that time. So I'm a little bit rusty heading into this one. But let's see what we can do heading into the first lap of Q1. So trying to line up a good exit off the last corner. As I say, I'm a little bit rusty, and I didn't do Imola in the F1 Esports round, and it was in the first round, I believe. So it's a long time ago since we've seen a bit of Imola. But here we go. We're going to give it a go anyway. So down into turn one, spot a braking board about 75 meters out. You need to clip these curves, but not too much because they can bounce you out or spin you around if you don't take enough. So you have to try and balance that well. Same with this. Try and straight line it. With the chicane, we do that pretty nicely. Looking for the 50-meter board. Fourth gear. Try and get on the traction nice and early. A little bit of a squiggle out of there, and you can see by my face. Probably not impressive the lap so far, but we digress. Down the hill we go now. Try and keep it within track limits, as we do nicely there. Through Aqua Minerale. How do we take this? A little bit conservative, but it's only Q1. We don't want to throw the lap away. But here is the most difficult corner on the track, in my opinion. The chicane, braking at the 50-meter board, a little bit messy. And yeah, as you can see, we didn't get a good traction. But heading down into the last couple of corners now, we've got most of the hard work done. But as you can see, we have a wild Jack West in the way.
That's a penalty. GG.
Yeah. We were not happy about that. 14-7 across the line. We go provisional P1, but if we skip on now to the end of the session, we end up in P7, so easily through. But yeah, it was quite frustrating at the time to get blocked on the lap. He immediately apologised, so good on him for doing that. But now we skip on now to the first round of Q2 on the old tyres. And we go P3 with a 15-0. We weren't too impressed with that, but I'm not sure what I was expecting really. We're never going to go through on an old set of tyres on this grid. That includes the likes of Haas, Veloce, RHG Academy, and Race Clutch as well. You know, some extremely fast drivers in here from the esports grid or the esports academies, as well as some high tier league races as well from the community teams. But as we move on now into our first competitive lap of Q2, trying to send it here, try and save as many tyres as we can for Q3 and the race, just in case we need them. And we are currently 2.5 tenths up on our first new tyre run here in Q2. A little bit wide of the apex here, but we carry decent minimum speed back through Aqua Minerale now. Taking a little bit more risk now with the track limits, and we are 4 tenths up heading into this chicane. The 49.6 split. It's not ideal, but it looks like it should be enough if we hook up the last couple of corners. Alfie Butcher goes to the top with a 14.4. Let's see what we can do through these last couple of corners. And it's looking not spectacular, but enough. As we open the DRS up to the line and we set a 14.5. As we see the results, once again, we go through with 1 set of tyres. Several drivers improved ahead of us. with their second runs, but we go through nonetheless into Q3. A bit tighter than I would have liked, but it helps us now into Q3 with a fresh set of tyres. So here we go, first run of Q3 on those fresh tyres, as I say, and let's see how we get on. We clonk the curb in the first corner, so that is not a great ideal, and as I say there, in a less appropriate manner, the lap is not going to be ideal even with that mistake. As we see the first sector split, it's a 24.0, which is not great. We want to be aiming for probably a 0.8 or a low 0.9 first. So
a banker lap.
We are down here, and as we head through, we absolutely miss the apex, and we fall off the circuit essentially. But yeah, so that lap is over. But now we skip on to our last run, our last attempt in Q3. Had a slightly better first sector, keep it within bounds, but we make a little bit of a mistake, and yeah, we've had a little bit of a rough first sector. It's not a brilliant one. Up the hill now, looking for the split on the side, and so 0.5, it is not looking like a great lap, and as we get a little bit unsettled through the chicane, it has not been the Q3 performance I would have hoped for. But down the hill one last time, see if we can hook up the last couple of corners to try and salvage something from the lap, and a bit of a scribble wide of the apex, and as we say there, a shocking lap. Up to the line, it's a 14.3, and that is simply not good enough. But yeah, we're gutted with that because we did have the pace to be up there with Alvaro, but he did a great job and he deserved pole position there, getting that lap in early and taking the pressure off. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to get on to the race, starting P7, I believe.
Good luck.
Or
keep the nose clean.
No, P6, my bad. But yeah, 5 red lights are on, and it's lights out and away we go. It looked like Otis even got a jump start there with how good of a launch he got. Super good on the starts. But now we're heading down into turn 1, trying to pick our line, keep our race alive while trying to attack Otis Lawrence, McLaren Academy driver, and Veloce Elite as well for this series. So yeah, we're trying to make some moves, but we just settle in behind for now into P6, consolidating our place off the start. And yeah, now this first lap is super important, trying to suss things out, where people are weak and strong, and see if we can get any moves done early on whilst people are trying to get into the race. But as I said earlier, I am rather rusty on the game at the moment, and when I say I did 0 race practice, I mean I did 0 race practice. So this is a little bit of an unknown for me as well, but as you can see, Isam Pookie and Alfie Butcher going side by side, and Pookie is through on Alfie Butcher there, so the man who qualified very well.
He made a mistake, he's in P4 now.
Very well, has lost a position now to the likes of Isam Pookie, currently a Veloci driver, but I think he was driving for TF10. No, Parnell. I can't remember, to be honest, but I'll have to check that. But whichever team he was driving for is no longer part of now. But yeah, that is lap 1 done. No moves done yet, but we're holding on nicely to this train. But we clocked the curb again.
Matthias quicker than me on the straight.
As Alvaro says there, Matthias quicker than him on the straight, and that's got me thinking. If he's quicker than Alvaro on the straight, that might mean Piotr behind is faster, as I get my first warning of the race on lap 2. So that is not the ideal way to start a race, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, as I say there, not sure it was a warning. Clearly lost time, but that's unfortunately not how the F1 game works sometimes. If you go off track, you are more than likely to get a warning, whether you think you deserve it or not. But I guess, it's the same for everyone, so it takes out a bit of ambiguity as we make a big mistake through the chicane, and we're complaining about the rear end already on these hard tyres with heavy fuel. The balance is not to my liking, and something I was experiencing all through qualifying and all through the race here at Imola is just distinct lack of grip. But after this race, I did did discover something that I was doing wrong with some settings, and it did give me a little bit more confidence now. But heading on to lap 5, Alfie Butcher sets the fastest lap of the race, and his teammate then replaces him. So it looks like those R8G guys are looking very pacey, not just in qualifying but in the race, as we're starting to drop off the back a little bit, as Otis Lawrence makes a slight mistake there. We are not driving perfectly.
Over around lap 13, we're going to up the pace, okay?
As Brett says there, we're talking about upping the pace, and I can't even justify the pace we're going at right now, but Otis Lawrence is back onto the back of Alfie Butcher, and he's trying to attack him round the outside into turn 1. How's that going to turn out? It's going to turn out really badly for Otis there, as he runs out of space, and he is unfortunately spun round by Alfie Butcher, but as we say, we'll absolutely take that, because it's a free position, and yeah, that incident had nothing to do with me, so we'll take that free position and up into P5 we go. But we need to work hard now to try and maintain the DRS distance now to the Alfa Romeo in front of us. So we're down to about 50% battery, which is not ideal, because around this track with the downforce levels you're having to run, as we make another mistake there, and that is our second warning of the race by lap 10. Another one of those, and we have a 3-second time penalty, and that in a field like this is going to plummet us not only out of the top 10 but maybe into the mid-teens, and that is something we cannot afford for the team, as this is a team's championship. Every mistake you make is almost amplified, but now we just have to settle down.
Have you only just seen that?
Try and get into a rhythm.
No, I'm just in forward.
And yeah, that's what we did. Next 5 laps, maintaining that gap ahead of Alfie Butcher.
Make this lap count.
As we dive into the pits, try and go for
Yep, you're in this lap.
a bit of an undercut, and our teammate will be responding on the next lap. But we are just focusing now, trying to get a good turn in, good pit release, making sure we're not losing any unnecessary time here in the pits. We do that nicely, and we are going to rejoin back behind Isfan Pookie as we were. And we're just keeping an eye on the bottom left to see where the Haas guys are going to rejoin here, as Matthias is going to pass us on the pit exit, as he was fighting Alvaro for the lead. But crucially, we do join back ahead of Piotr, who had a couple of lap undercut on us. But we are on cold tyres here, so we're going to try our best to try and stay in front of him, but we'll see, as he's going to be right on the back of us into this hairpin. So we're going to, not defend, but try and deter him from going for the move here. But he is right on our on our gearbox heading up the hill, as our tyres are still taking their time to warm up, and we're having to use a little bit of battery. But as you can see, we held that position nicely, and we are currently rejoining back behind Alfie Butcher as he comes out from his stop. Went a couple of laps longer, and he joins back where we were essentially. So yeah, there's still a few more cars yet to pit up ahead.
Yeah, I broke Stachulek out of DRS. I don't know if he's trying to back the pack.
As I say there, Matthias' pace was starting to slow down at the front,
keep control of the race.
And it might have been because Stachulek was starting to fade off the back of me. As Pookie makes a mistake there up the hill through Acque Minerale, and that's going to put him under all sorts of pressure from Alfie into the chicane.
Yeah, I have no battery.
But no move done there, and we make another mistake through the chicane. Really struggling with the consistency in this race. We're past halfway distance now, and we're still making these mistakes, which is uncommon for me. I'll be honest, but just as I said, felt really uncomfortable in this race, and a mixture of some settings being wrong and having a bit of rust was not helping. But we are skipping on now back onto lap 23. We are a net P5, as we have an Aston Martin up ahead in the form of Antoine Desolewski. Probably butchered that, but he is still yet to pit, so he's going long on the hards, and we are approaching him at a fair rate of knots now on our fresher mediums. So we are going to be coming across him if he doesn't pit at the end of this lap, but it's all starting to get a little bit closer as we head into the last 10 laps of the race, and we are just doing our best now to try and recharge the battery, try and sit in this 4 to 6 tenth gap that we've started to get accustomed to in this race. And yeah, as I say, recharge that battery and try and attack later on. So we have managed to charge a little bit, but it's, as I was saying earlier, really difficult to try and charge it up around here. Once you start using it, it's really, really difficult. But we are doing our best, and we're staying at a good distance to the cars in front. So it's looking okay right now to start making things happen at the end of the race. But as you can see 40%. Now, as Brett informs us, our head engineer and for this series, but more importantly, our F1 Esports coordinator. But now, as you can see, the leaders are onto the back of Anton Dezalewski, and he is not going to make it easy for Matthias coming through here. He is going to fight it a little bit here through the first couple of chicanes, and as you'll be able to see, they're going to go side by side once again, and yeah, that happened, and that is an absolute gift to me.
Clowns, man. They are honestly clowns.
Antoine and Matthias came together, and the melee ensued. Unfortunately, we could slip through whilst others were trying to take evasive action through the gravel and such. But now, if we were struggling with the pace before, we are really going to be struggling with the pace now. Alvaro is looking super quick around this track, as is Alfie. It's probably one of his best tracks.
Did he get it?
At the time of recording this and editing this, Alfie's just won the Challengers race.
He didn't.
In Imola by a distance, so we know how much quality he has, especially around this circuit. But we are doing what we can, using the battery where we need to stay within the DRS detection. But as you see here, if we look to the top left, it's gone from 8/10 gap.
He got the whole chicane to gain
9.5, almost a second. So I've had to burn a lot of my battery there as Alfie cut the chicane to try and get within Alvaro's DRS detection, which he has done, and that's put a lot of pressure on not only Alvaro but myself to try and stay within this.
Not really got any battery.
Within this gap, we've now dropped the group behind, so it is a three-way battle now for the win, and we're in danger of it becoming a two-way fight as we slide out of Aqua Minerale through the chicane once again, and we're going to come over the radio here.
I'm starting to struggle with the tyres.
And we are starting to struggle with the rear end. The traction is not ideal, and at this point we are just hanging on for dear life here.
Alfie Ares.
I've not seen it yet.
But the pace is looking seriously strong now. The gap to the cars behind, it's only been a few laps. It's gone up to 4.5 seconds. As Alfie is going to attack Alvaro for the lead. But he holds on well there, well defended. And on to the next lap now. I believe Alfie is going to try once again. We are out of the 1 second range. And here we go, the leaders are going for it. Alfie tries to go around the outside once again. But Alvaro, again, holds his line through the first couple of corners. And hangs Alfie out to dry. And we are back just about within DRS detection. But these guys now are going at it.
Just to let you know.
And as we say there, Alfie is starting to flash with the DRS, which means he's under the 10% range. So he's on about the same battery as us, but that's not much to use to us when we are nearly 7/10 behind, heading almost onto the last lap. So we're going to do our best to try and close this gap, but Alvaro is going to be trying to break away at the same time. So it's going to be difficult, but these next couple of corners are going to be absolutely critical for this race and how things shape up down the main straight. So here we go through the chicane.
11%,
and
oh my god, man, no way.
Alvaro makes a critical mistake there on traction, and he's going to try and play a bit of DRS chicken with him, but it's not going to work down into the second to last corner here. So the gap is basically nothing between the two leaders heading onto the final lap, and we are still in this race to try and make something happen if these two come together. So here we go, one last time down the main straight. And the gap is just 2/10 between the leaders. Here goes Alfie Butcher around the outside. Is Alvaro going to be able to hold on once again through the first corner? No, he is not. He has to file in behind. And all three of us now have no battery. So it is a straight fight now to the finish line. And the question is, can we make something happen? It's not a great track for overtaking. We have a couple of opportunities. Firstly, into the chicane as at the start of sector 3, and if we can get a good exit, maybe into the second to last corner as well. But it is pretty risky, so we're just going to bide our time and see what happens. Alvaro's keeping a good distance to the back of Alfie here as these guys start to break away through the second sector, but critically a little mistake there from Alvaro gives Alfie that half a second buffer. So unless a mistake comes in these last couple of corners, it looks like the young man in the Alfa Romeo, the RHG Academy, is going to take the first win of the season. And yeah, this is a pretty gutting feeling for me, and obviously for Alvaro as well, having led a vast majority of the race. We're going to come around the last corner now. Alfie Butcher wins in Imola, but we follow home
GG,
in
good
P2 and 3.
Luck in the end there, Alvaro, but it was a great drive from both of you there.
And as Brett
Good
says,
team result.
it was a great team result, and we will walk away with the championship lead as we finished P2 and 3, and Williams, I believe, are within a couple of points, or if not leading the championship as it stands. However, this is not how it ended, guys. We saw after the race, for the incident between Otis and Alfie Butcher, there was a 5-second penalty administered to Alfie Butcher there. The stewards found him responsible for the incident and spinning round Otis Lawrence. So as you'll be able to see by this updated spreadsheet, we came away with a 1-2 in the first round, which is an absolutely dream start for us. And yeah, we cannot complain with that. But yeah, guys, as I said, absolute dream start for the team in the first round of the E-Series. Next time out we have France, a track that's not really been covered by many leagues by that point. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve for us and a lot of other teams who haven't really visited this track too much over this game cycle. But it should be an entertaining one nonetheless. So join me next time on the channel for highlights of that as well. But in the meantime, take care and peace out.